Hi, this is Mato. In this video I will show you the game between Fabiano Caruana and Magnus Carlsen. This is the game from Gashimov Memorial tournament, played in Azerbaijan in 2014. Fabiano Caruana had white pieces and he started with e4. Carlsen played e5, knight to f3 attacking the pawn on e5, defending, and Caruana played bishop to b5. Ruy Lopez, or Spanish opening. Knight to f6, Carlsen goes for Berlin defense. Caruana castled and allowed Carlsen to capture the pawn on e4, and Carlsen did. d4, knight to d6 attacking the bishop. Bishop takes knight on c6, d takes on c6, d takes on e5 attacking the knight. Knight to f5, and then queens were exchanged and black lost his castling rights. h3 preparing g4, h6, rook to d1 check, king to e8, knight to c3, bishop to d7, bishop to f4. White has smooth development of his pieces. Rook to d8. Caruana had the same position against Ponomaryov, and then he played e6, but the move didn't give him a big advantage. In this game he played knight to e4, bishop to e7, g4, knight to h4, knight takes knight, bishop takes knight, king to g2. It is black to move. How should black continue? Should black castle or not? Well, he would love to, but it is against the rules. He moved his king. Bishop to e6, f3, b6. If in this position rook takes rook, then rook takes rook, but bishop can't take the pawn because it would get trapped. So we have after f3 b6, b3. It is black to move. King to e7 comes to mind, connecting rooks. But Carlsen avoided this move because he wanted to keep his bishop pair. If king to e7, after bishop to g3, bishops would be exchanged, and black would have no bishop pair. But this is not that bad for black. Black could have continued then with rook to d5, and after f4, rook from h to d8, rook takes rook, pawn takes rook, attacking the knight, knight to f2, then f5, and after pawn takes pawn en passant, king takes on f6. This is not too bad for black. In the game we have c5. In the interview after the game, Carlsen said that he regretted playing this move. It weakened his d5 square. That's what he said. c4, rook to d7, bishop to g3, bishop to e7, keeping his bishop pair. Rook takes rook, bishop takes rook, knight to c3, knight is going for d5, king to d8. Carlsen avoided c6 because it would restrict the movement of his bishop. In some variation, white can play f4 and then bishop can go to c6 with check. So in the game we have a king to d8, knight to d5. White knight is extremely well placed on d5. Rook to e8, rook to d1, aligning the rook with black king. It is black to move. How should black continue? Carlsen played king to c8. In the interview after the game, Carlsen said that he considered playing c6, but he didn't like it because of this continuation. Knight takes on e7, rook takes f4, king to e8, bishop to h4. Material is equal, but perhaps white's position is preferred. However, c6 would be better than king to c8. What's wrong with king to c8? Critical position, white to move. Please pause the video and find the best move for white. What did you find? In the game, Caruana captured the pawn on c7 with knight, attacking the rook. Can black capture the knight? Would you? Carlsen played rook to d8. If king takes knight, then e6 check from bishop, king to c6, rook takes on d7, and I will play a random move to show you what the problem with the position is. If a6 is played, then rook to c7, checkmate. So the care must be taken on c7 square. If bishop to d8, then rook to d6 check, and after king to c7, then pawn takes pawn, attacking the rook, rook to f8, rook to g6 check from bishop, king to d7, rook takes pawn on g7, a total disaster for black. Okay, let's go back to our game. In the game, in this position, Carlsen played rook to d8, knight to d5. White knight is the star of the show, isn't he? Rook to e8. Carlsen is not bothering to keep the bishop here anymore. If bishop to f8, then perhaps f4. And if bishop to c6, bishop to h4. So we have rook to e8. And Caruana is not taking the bishop. He played bishop to e1, making the room for the king to go to g3, and the bishop is going to c3. Bishop to d8, bishop to c3, g6, king to g3, b5. Carlsen wants to exchange pawns to make his bishop pair more effective. Pawn takes pawn, bishop takes pawn, knight to e3. Ideally, white knight would like to land on d6 and proclaim itself the strongest piece on the board. The knight can get there to d6 by going either to c4 or f5 when it becomes available. How soon it will become available, we will see. Rook to e6, f4, rook to a6, attacking the pawn on a2. Not pushing the pawn. Rook to d2, h5, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, knight to f5. The knight's dream has come true. He is heading for d6. Rook to g6 check, king to h2, bishop to c6. Know that rook and bishop are connecting on g2. Knight to d6 check, king to b8. It is white to move. Temptation is to take the pawn on f7, and it's possible, but black will have some counterplay. Caruana played f5. This is much better than knight takes pawn, although knight takes pawn is also possible. Okay, let's have a look. If knight takes on f7, then bishop to h4, and Caruana didn't like to play this move. He values his knight very much. Then bishop takes knight, pawn takes bishop, rook takes on g5. White is a pawn up. Still better. we have f5, rook to g8, f6, restricting the movement of black dark squared bishop. Bishop to b6. Black dark squared bishop is looking for employment on the other side of the board. Knight to c4. Well, it was possible to take the pawn, but Caruana didn't want to take any risks. He played knight to c4. Let's see what happens if knight takes on f7. Then c4, random move, and then checkmate. That was a threat. So we have knight to c4, rook to e8, knight to d6 attacking the rook, rook to g8. Position is repeated. And this time Caruana spent time in calculating what happens after knight takes pawn. He calculated the variation and then he took the pawn. c4, threatening checkmate. h4, making the room for the king. Rook to g4, e6, bishop to e3, attacking the rook and threatening bishop to f4 check. Bishop to e5 check. King to a8, rook to d8 check. King to b7, bishop to g3, taking care of his king first. It is black to move. Carlsen played a very interesting move. c3. Black pawn is only 2 squares away from the glory. How to stop the pawn? What would you do? Caruana played rook to b8 check, king to a6, rook to c8 attacking the bishop and x-raying the pawn. If, for example, c2, then rook takes on c6 check, and then rook takes pawn. So Carlsen played bishop to d5. There was another interesting move, and that is rook to c4. How would you continue now? Then pawn takes rook, and after bishop to a4, well then the knight comes to the rescue, and after c2, knight to d3, if pawn is pushed and promoted queen, knight takes queen, and after bishop takes f7 is winning for white. Okay, let's go back to our game. In the game we have bishop to d5, rook takes on c3 attacking the bishop on e3, bishop to d4 attacking the rook. If bishop takes on e6, then Caruana would not capture the bishop on e3, he would go for the light squared bishop. This is check, and after king to b5, rook takes on a6. So we have bishop to d4, rook to d3, rook to e4, rook to d2, rook takes on e6. It is white to move. White played a move, and black resigned. Caruana played knight to g5, attacking the rook. Carlsen resigned. Possible continuation is rook takes pawn, then rook takes bishop on d4. So in this position, Carlsen resigned. What a game. What do you think of this game? And that is all. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. I wish you good luck with your chess, and bye for now.